So how do you sum up your career?
Well, my career started when I was 6 years old, with my dad giving me my first lesson. He said, "Son, put your left hand on the club, look down, see two knuckles, have that V pointing to your right shoulder, and same thing with your right hand, have that V pointing toward your right shoulder." And that's how my career started, and it's evolved from that. My dad's passion for the game, his friends, people that I grew up with, my great friend and teacher and fellow golf pro now, or was, Stan Thirsk. He's a lovely man. He taught me so much about the game and how to treat people. And just being around golfers has enriched my career and made me understand what the game of golf is all about. And the game of golf is all about passion. It's all about passion. You meet golfers who are passionate golfers. You instantly have a bond with them, and that's it. We share that kind of inner circle of friendship about the game, and that's essentially, that's my career in a nutshell. I've played golf all my life. I am a golfer. It defines me in a lot of ways, and I'm very grateful to be able to play a game for a living.
You talk about passion a lot. That's something that I think about. My life revolves around the game of golf. Do you ever consider your life without golf? And if so, how does that feel?
No, I never consider that.
I'm curious to know, a lot of people in America watching this have never played links golf. Can you describe the sensations associated with playing golf in the UK?
Well, the first thing people think about when they come and play golf on links golf courses over here is the weather. They think about rain suits, umbrellas, wind, and that's the first thing to think about. You got to prepare for it. And then once they get over there and they play a true links golf course where the conditions are firm, the ground, there's a certain ring and thump to a shot you hit off the ground with an iron. That's is not replicated hardly anywhere else in the world because it's on the sandy soil here, and then there's a ring to it that's it's unique. But playing links golf is different than playing soft golf courses. The true definition of links golf is bounce. The ball bounces, it rolls, and the key for success in links golf is hitting the ball the right distance. How do you hit the ball through the air and allow for the roll to come up to the distance you want it to go? Then the variables start entering into that picture of all the hillocks and the bumps and the humps and the valleys, and then you add to that factor wind. How much does the wind make the ball go forward and going downwind, and how much does it stop it going into the wind? And going downwind is the hardest one to judge how far that ball is going to go.
You came here for what I believe was your first time playing links golf. What was your taste for it then?
Well, I first played here at Carnoustie in the Open Championship, my first experience on links golf. And frankly, it wasn't at Carnoustie. For reasons that still kind of baffle me, we weren't allowed to play a practice round on the Sunday before the tournament. The qualifiers had the run of the course then. So we went and there was an arrangement made for us to play Montefiore Golf Club. And it's a true links golf course down just 5 miles from Carnoustie on the east coast there. And my first tee ball I hit out, and I thought I hit it right down the middle of the fairway. And John Mahaffey and Hubert Green were my playing partners, and we couldn't find my ball. And I said, "Wait a minute, where's the ball?" I hit it down the middle of the fairway. And finally, I just dropped the ball from where I thought it should be and hit a shot. And then lastly, I just said, "Hey, let me just take one more look." I couldn't just leave a golf ball. You never can leave a golf ball. And I went way off to the side over here and found it in a small depression. It was hidden from any of our views. And I said, "I don't like this. I hit it right down the middle of the fairway, and it ball bounded left and into this little small depression, little sandy depression." I said, "Yeah, this is not fair." Well, bottom line is golf's not a fair game. But I struggled with accepting links golf and the bad bounces for several years until I finally said, enough of this pity pot stuff and whining. You better get with it and you just accept your fate and play on. And I'd won a couple, actually 3 Open Championships by that time until I truly accepted it.
So that's interesting. Your first ever experience with it was frustrating, but you still managed.
I didn't like it.
You still managed to bring home the Claret Jug.
Yeah.
Champion golfer of the year. And you was still left feeling. Did you even then, after winning, feel like it was still unfair, or did that come later?
Sure, I did.
Can you talk about the role of fairness in golf?
No, it's an unfair game. It's very simple. You hit a good shot and you get a bad break. You hit a bad shot and get a good break. And if you hit a bad shot and gets a good break, your opponents are complaining. If you hit a good shot and you hit a bad break, you complain.
Your career has had so many moments of what seems to me on the outside as sheer will. I don't really, I have a hard time believing that you would subscribe to the role of luck. I mean, I know and I believe it's true. I've seen it over time and time again, but your career has these moments of just will. That it just seems like you decide that you're going to win and the ball goes in the hole in the number of strokes that it needs to go in. Can you describe the difference between that sort of luck role and the role of will and sheer, I guess it's confidence?
It's about the acceptance of the luck involved. That's what it's all about. The will is inbred, or it's you practice hard enough where you just you have a trust in your abilities, and you have an innermost desire to win, and come hell or high water, you're going to win. But the luck is the factor that, especially on links golf courses, you have to deal with. And I had a hard time dealing with it at first. I mean, as I said before, but finally, it's a matter you have to accept your fate. In 2009, I had a great shot on the last hole at Turnberry, and as luck would have it, it hit on a downslope and went over the green, and I failed to get the ball up and down. I still had control of the situation. If I get the ball up and down, I win the Open Championship and at an advanced age. But I accepted it. It was hard to accept, but that's just the way the game is. And it was easier to accept, I think, probably because I'd won 5 Open Championships. It was my only chance of winning an Open Championship. It may have been a lot harder to accept it, but in fact, even in that case, you do have to accept your fate and say, well, that's just the way the ball bounces, to be trite about it.
On some level, do you feel like links golf is like mandatory higher learning for all golfers? I know when I came and played the Old Course was my first round of links golf, and there was 4 seasons in one day, and I remember walking away feeling upset. And it's so ironic to me that millions of people come to golf every year and have that experience of sort of being upset. Do you think on some level that's one of the reasons that we play golf?
Well, to understand the game fully, you have to realize that when you play a round of golf, your par changes depending on the conditions. If they're perfect conditions, you expect, okay, this is the best this course is going to play, and I expect to shoot a lower score. When the conditions get difficult, you have to readjust your score, what it takes to shoot your best score on that day. The difficult conditions take away from what perfect conditions give you, and you have to. Again, it's an acceptance level. And if you go out and you shoot a 74 on a really tough windy day at Carnoustie, you've played a great round of golf. If you shoot a 74 on a windless day, as happened in my first Open Championship at Carnoustie, the field was going to lap you, and you understood that. You understand that as a golfer. The more you play the game, you understand that your par level changes as the conditions change. I'm
assuming you watch the Open Championship on television these days.
I do.
do you think about, what do you think about? Do you think about 1977?
Not really, only when you bring it up.
When they bring it up on television, do you think about it? Because they must say this is known as the best tournament in our era.
Well, you know, Stenson and Mickelson had even a better tournament when they went head-to-head at Troon.
You would say better. Why?
Because they shot way under par. I mean, even more under par.
A pair of
Jack and I did.
63s versus 65s?
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you would say that.
Well, it's the fact.
Stuart and I woke up early in LA that morning and watched it, and I've only been watching golf for 8 years, so having seen that, it was incredible. I wish I had seen yours. I would have been negative 4 years old at the time.
That's about right. Yeah.
How has golf changed for you over the years? You've seen such a wonderful growth and
Well, it's changed. You know, the game itself has changed because the ball's changed. The ball goes straighter and farther, and that's the biggest change in the game. And as a result, the players hit the ball more accurately, and they hit it farther. And the golf courses have to, for the major championship or any championship, they have to allow for that, and that's what's happened. So the game's changed that way. But essentially, you know, the way you play the game hasn't changed a lot. The ball goes offline more. You have to. In the old days, it spun more, so you really had to be careful about controlling the spin of the golf ball more so than you do today. But still, the bottom line of the game still is you tee the ball up and you try to get the ball in the hole in the fewest strokes as possible. That hasn't changed. It didn't change from 1860 when the first Open Championship was played at the 12-hole golf course at Prestwick, at Old Prestwick. It hasn't changed since then. It's still the same game.
that is a line. Thank you for that. What would you describe as perfect golf weather?
Anytime you can be on a golf course.
I was afraid you'd say something like that. And then as far as your love of golf, what would you say is, how do you incorporate travel with that? I mean, I'm assuming you love traveling. Is that true?
Well, you have to travel to play. And that's the one thing that, you know, the one thing I miss the most about traveling is, and playing golf on the tour, is that I don't have weekends off anymore unless I'm playing badly. You know, weekends, we used to look forward to Friday. I mean, it's, you know, TGIF. You know, you had Saturday and Sunday to kind of do what you wanted to do. And you don't have that luxury when you're playing the tour anymore.
As far as I'm curious to know the sights and the sounds of links golf. When you show up here, what is it to you that signifies the golf but just in the things that you see and smell and hear?
Well, the one thing about an Open Championship is different than any place else is I think the crowd reactions to shots. I think the crowds are a little bit more knowledgeable here about the difference between a good shot and a bad shot. You know, especially when you have tough conditions. When you have tough conditions, the ball gets on the green, just gets on the green, and they applaud. You know, they're excited that, you know, somebody hit the ball on the green here, and that has something to do with the way the game is played on links golf courses. The way, you know, what links golf courses give you versus the lush golf courses we play elsewhere, and it does. You know, you don't hear "be the ball" or "mashed potatoes" or "you demand." We don't hear that much over here. Some, but not much.
And then as far as, without even tournament play, but just sort of visiting over here, the culture of golf in the UK, do you sort of, when you go home, do you miss certain aspects of the, you know, group sociology of golf over here?
No, I don't miss it at all, because the one thing I've always said about here is that golf is a fabric. It's part of the fabric of life for everybody over here. People who don't even play the game understand that it's an important element of their culture. Golf is a big part of their culture, and they respect it, and they give it their due respect. And you know, growing up as a kid, when I was 6 years old, as I said, you know, my dad had a great passion for the game. People in the UK have a great passion for the game, and it shows up in lots of different places that it doesn't necessarily show up in America.
Can we take a second here?
Yeah, what's this thing?
What? What's
There's
this
Max.
thing?
Max and Darren. They're one of their favorite Irishmen, along with Rory, and you got a bunch of them.
I read a little bit about the rivalry with you and Jack, and the word friendly was used there. Can you talk about that?
Well, I think friendly was respectful. You know, Jack always had a great respect for his fellow competitors. He wanted to beat you as hard as anybody else, but he just, the respect he showed, and especially when he came off the last green at Turnberry, he had me by the shoulder like that and said, "Tom, I gave you my best shot, but it wasn't good enough. I'm really happy for you. Really happy for you." And when he said that, that was when I knew I kind of arrived. It was really special.
So do you feel at home every time you show up to a golf course?
I do. Because, this is where people who play the game of golf, they hang out. People who have true passion for the game. It doesn't matter what course you happen to walk on. This is Port Rush right here. This is the theater. Today we'll go out and we'll play, and people will experience for the first time what an Open Championship golf course is like, and they'll probably come back, as we said, frustrated to maybe a great degree, but it's part of the game. You have to deal with the frustrations and the roadblocks and the bad bounces and the bad lies in the bunkers, and yet people continue to play the game. And why is that? Why do they continue to play the game?
That's what I want to know.
Well, you know, because you've hit that shot. You've probably made a hole in one. You probably hit, your best score. You remember that, probably shot for shot.
Yeah.
That's why you keep on playing the game. You never surrender. A good friend of mine said that. He said that. A good friend of mine, Sandy Tatum, got a letter from Alistair Cook, who was a wonderful writer, but he was a lousy golfer. and he and Sandy Tatum had a great relationship, and Alistair wrote him a letter and said, "Sandy, whilst I'm not the type of golfer you are, this game is still in my blood, and I will never surrender." Something to the effect of that. I've come close to surrendering and hated the game here when things weren't going well. I practiced my butt off, and things were getting worse. And finally, I made a kind of out-of-the-box change in my golf swing, and all of a sudden, wow, this game is easier.
Was that with Nelson, or that was later?
No, that was later. Yeah. I was on the practice tee after a particularly poor practice round at Harbortown at the Heritage Golf Classic, one of my favorite golf courses. In 1994, I was on the practice tee on Tuesday and hitting balls, and I was hitting toe-deep divots and balls going out to the right. And I said, "Hey, I'm tired of hitting the ball to the right. I couldn't get the club to really come on the inside through here and finish this way. I was always going this way into the impact." So I got myself feeling like I was going this way to impact. And what it did is level my shoulder playing out like this, and I started striping it. Man, I never looked back after that. The game got fairly easy. Now it's getting tougher. It's getting tougher now the older I get. But you have to persevere. You have to persevere in this game. A-type personalities, it's very difficult to play this game with that type of personality, because you want results.
Yeah.
The problem is you can't go out every time and get the type of results you're looking for. You have to deal with the failures, and that's what strengthens your character and strengthens your golf game, is dealing with the failures and trying to figure out why you failed with your golf swing. Go to the practice tee and you work with yourself, or you work with an instructor. You use the video, you use the TrackMan, you use all kinds of different things to get better. When you stop wanting to improve and you just enjoy the game, that's okay. But that's not part of my personality. Every time I hit a shot, I want to know why I missed it, And if I hit a good one, I enjoy the moment that I hit a good shot.
Right.
I really do. I still do. So that's why I play the game.
Right. Do you mind if we go to 18?
Sure.
It's crazy to me to think that, to hear you say that at one point ever you were lost in your swing. Every amateur, I think, looks to you and says, I mean, number one in the world for how many years? 4?
A few.
4? A couple? 4?
A few.
How is that even conceivable? Do you get shocked in that moment, or is it just normal for you to just be bewildered by the game in that way?
Anytime you play the game, you're going to be dealing with frustration and failure. And the great golfers, they have a certain amount of talent, skill, and practice ethic that they can figure out how to score. And once one of the things that kind of defined the way I played the game was I was able to score when I wasn't playing too well. And that's the first thing I had to learn when I came on the tour, because I thought when I came on the tour I had to play perfect golf to have any sort of success. And I found out quickly that that's not the case, because bottom line, later on, the true discovery was that golf's not a perfect game. And somebody wrote a book like that.
I've heard about
Bob Rotella. Golf is not a perfect game. And you understand that. And you look at Seve, the way Seve played. Seve played the game with elan. He was all over the place, but he could get the ball up and down out of the ball washer. And I could do the same thing. And I frustrated my opponents doing that. I might be, over here on the downslope like this, hit into that green over like that, and somehow I get the ball up and down.
Right.
Because that was me.
I try to talk about this with people who are new to the game of golf, that every time you miss a fairway or a green, you have an opportunity for something beyond your imagination at that point. Are you thinking creatively about that? What drives that result when you do at 17 at Pebble?
It's practice.
Practice.
At 17 at the Pebble in the practice rounds, I practiced that downhill chip shot out of the heavy grass in the 3 practice rounds I played before the tournament, probably 300 or 400 times around the greens. So I had practiced that shot, not from that particular place, but similar places around the golf course, because that was a consistent lie you got when you missed the green. If you didn't go in the bunker, you were on the downslope of heavy grass, having to hit a pitch shot out of the heavy grass. So I was prepared for it. It wasn't a new situation for me.
Right, just typical surgery. Is it possible to put into words the feeling of walking up to the 18th here with people in the grandstands clapping?
I tell you what's fun is when you're coming to the 18th hole with a 4-shot lead and you just hit the ball on the green in 2, then you get a chance to maybe relax a little bit.
Right.
Coming up here. But when you don't have the lead and you're coming up here, you recognize the crowd's there, but you're focused on one thing, only one thing.
So here we are, the 148th Open. If you go back 148 years, it looked a little different. The field was a little different.
Had 13 people, 12 pros and an amateur in 1860, and it was just a small event. They started off with a championship belt, like a boxing belt. It had a big buckle to it like that, and a leather strap to it, and an ornate belt buckle. And they presented that to the Open champion golfer of the year, as they say now. And they, for 12 years, the problem was that Tom Morris Jr. won it the last 3 years of those 12 years, and they said, you're so good, you just get to keep the belt, Tommy. So they gave it to him. They didn't have a trophy or anything to give in 1882, or 1872, I guess it was. In '73, they commissioned the Claret Jug, and that's what is presented to the Open champion, the champion golfer of the year now. And that's an iconic symbol, really, that Claret Jug, and it's used appropriately by the R&A as far as the symbol of the championship. Actually, Jack Nicklaus used it as a symbol for his golf tournament when he started his golf tournament at the
Muirfield.
In Dublin, Ohio, at the Memorial Tournament.
Right.
Because he thought so much of Muirfield and of course the Open Championship. So anyway, that after it started in 1883, there was I'm sure lots of claret, champagne. I drank some champagne out of the Claret Jug. I remember that the first time in '75 when went back to the hotel room with John and Susie Mahaffey. It was quite a wonderful experience.
What's under our feet right now when you walk around? You know, Paul was kind of asking this. We have this game that's old, and then we have this land that's even older. Do you think about that of what we're walking on?
Well, this is sand. You know, I don't know how deep this sand goes. It may go 20 meters, it may go 50 meters of sand before it hits bedrock. So, you know, that's what defines links land. The ocean is that way. You know, you can see up on top of the hills, you see cattle and sheep up there. That's the arable land. That's where it's not sandy.
Right.
And you can grow crops on that type of land. Here, there's not enough moisture in the soil to grow. So what'd they do with it? Well, the shepherds brought their sheep down here, and they would probably end up in a little hole like that when the wind was blowing, and they didn't have much to do, but you know, they got a stick and a rock, and they started bashing her around, and finally figured out that, hey, this is kind of a challenge. Old Edward over there, he challenged him to a little game of stick and rock game, and it evolved into golf. But it was on the links land, you see, and it was easy. It was easy to kind of shape it if you wanted to shape it for a green, because it's just sand. You just push it around, throw some seed on it, and you've got some grass growing. But it's true links golf is played on links land, and on the link between the sea and the arable land. And there's really only a handful of courses around the world that are true links golf courses, less than 300.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was that few.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Driving, irons, chipping, or putting? What is the single most important thing? If you're equal at all of them, what does it take to be the best?
Well, you got to be a great putter.
Putter.
Number one, yeah. If you make putts, you're going to win. If you don't make putts, you're probably not going to win.
And then, this might not be the last question, but at any point in your golf career, has anything ever made you cry?
Sure, yeah. Not failing at Medina in 1975 in the U.S. Open. I cried hard after, really just stinking up the joint the last couple of rounds when I had a chance to win the tournament. I wanted to win the most of the U.S. Open. Let me tell you a story about this amphitheater, all right? You see this amphitheater here? You see the scoreboard here?
Mm-hmm.
At Turnberry in 1977, this thing was full of people. Stands were full. I had a one-shot lead over Jack coming in the last hole. I birdied 17. Jack, he missed about a 4-foot putt for birdie to tie me. So I have a one-shot lead, and I come into the last hole, and I hit it this far from the hole with a 7-iron on the last hole. I've got a one-shot lead. And you would think, okay, you've got him now. As my caddy said, Alfie Fowles said, "You've got him now, mister." And I said, nope. He's going to make that putt, because Jack almost hit it unplayable. He took a mighty swing with an 8-iron out of the rough. There was a wad of grass about this much on it. Only he could do it. And the ball bounded up in the green about 30 feet from the hole. And sure enough, he made the putt. 10 feet from the hole, I knew it was dead center. And he went right in the geometric dead center of the hole. And the crowd went absolutely ballistic. I mean, it was a jet engine roar. It was 90 to 100 decibels, easy. And it didn't slow down. I'm waiting there. I'm waiting for the crowd to slow down. They kept on cheering. It's the mightiest cheer you've ever heard in your life. And so I said, the heck with this. I bent over and I put my ball down and picked up the coin. And as I picked up the coin like this, out of the corner of my eye, I see Jack. Jack goes like this. And only in this game of golf would this happen. That crowd went silent in 3 seconds. It was unbelievable. From a jet engine roar to absolute dead silence in 3 seconds. Now that's what the game is all about. the respect for people who play the game, the respect for playing the game the way it should be played, respect for Jack Nicklaus to say, give him his due, let him put this putt in silence, as we all should do. And I knocked the ball in, and then when it came off the green, we walked like this, and he grabbed me like this in the shoulder, and he said, Tom, I gave you my best shot, but it wasn't good enough, and he just grabbed me like that. And he said, I'm proud of you. Congratulations. I'm happy for you.
Wow.
And you know, when I walked off the green like that, yeah, I felt that maybe I can play with the big boys.
Yeah.
I can play with them. I can beat the best. And that was my goal as a kid, to be the best. And that's why I'm here today.
That's how you end a video, Tom. Thank you.
You're welcome.